Welcome to the podcast, guys. I'm thrilled for you to spend some time with our guest, calling in all the way from Australia. Today's guest is helping business owners really finally get what it is that they've always needed. But in my opinion, I'm curious to really dig into what you're doing, Luke, with as a CEO of Baremetrics. It's really a company that's removing, to me, it's kind of removing the intimidation factor from business metrics and replacing it with some simple, powerful insights. So I'd love to dig in with you and hear how you're helping out other businesses accomplish their goals.
Yeah, for sure. And firstly, thanks for having me, Michael. It's great to be here. And yeah, I think Bare Metrics in a nutshell really is about breaking down complex data into manageable segmentations, insights. And my credo for a lot of the work I do with my clients is so what, right? So we have all this great data, we have all these dashboards, but really it's about the so what behind it. And it's often the question I answer when people ask me for a particular metric. I don't say, yes, I can build that metric. I say, what are you actually looking to get out of that metric? What is it you're trying to find out, or the insight you're trying to discover? And usually we can break past that need to get a particular metric that's maybe obscure or unheard of, and instead understand, what it is they're really trying to do to drive their business forward.
Yeah, I'd love to dig in a minute, kind of some of the things that you hear. I suspect you probably run into oftentimes where people think one thing about the metrics that they need, and they, actually need something completely different. But take me back to the beginning. Like, what's your story?
Yeah.
What led you to Baremetrics? And was there a specific problem you had faced yourself that led to creating this solution?
So I guess to be clear at the start, I'm not the founder of Baremetrics. I am an acquired CEO in many ways, but I've got a unique background in entering the SaaS space in general. So I was in the Australian military for over a decade,
Cool.
and then I sort of started to see the light on the other side. I was doing some consulting roles in the business world in digital transformation, and I was offered a role in a civilian capacity as a digital transformation manager, and I took that role. And after a couple of years there, I had an ex-colleague of mine reach out and say, "Hey, I'm working with this group of SaaS companies in the private equity space. We really need some sort of young, disciplined leaders with a bit of experience in business, but can manage a small team and effectively apply a playbook. Do you want to give it a look?" And at that stage, I was looking for something completely different from military, and I was still in that sort of ecosystem. And so I took a leap, and that was 7 years ago. I took a leap into running Dream Factory, which was my first SaaS company. It was a REST API generation platform, doing some really good things at the moment in AI over there. But I ran that for about 3.5 years. And then I actually moved into a board advisory role across the portfolio of companies that Dream Factory was in, the private equity firm that owned Dream Factory. We raised a second fund, and our first acquisition of that second fund was Baremetrics. So my primary role at the start of this journey was actually as a board advisor, and I sort of went through that post-acquisition process, saw where we could make some improvements and what we could adjust. Really, just sort of casual advisory, running boards, and then nearly 3 years ago now, I guess the opportunity arose for me to step in as the CEO and have a more hands-on role, and I really lent into that. I had been working with probably about half a dozen companies, but Baremetrics had always been appealing to me just because it has a great brand history. Josh Pigford, the original founder, had a great community behind him. He was building in the sort of golden age of SaaS, alongside a lot of startups you see, startups then that are now, massive companies. And for me, it was one of those products that it's not a DevOps tool, it's not an ETL, it's not this sort of obscure infrastructure tool. It's really clean, pure and simple, demystifying Stripe data or payment analytics data into actionable insights. And that always drew me into that conversation. Even as we built that second fund, every acquisition we made, the first thing we say to the founders is, "Hey, can you connect Baremetrics for us, please, so we can check out your data?" That was always our first step. So that's how I came to be where I am now. And yeah, looking forward to continue on this role as long as I can.
I'm curious, what led you to like be in a position where I think it feels like you've moved from just showing metrics to helping users interpret and actually act on them. And like,
Yeah.
what sparked that evolution? And I'm curious, how has it changed your relationship with your clients and your users?
So it's funny because when you look at our product, and our fundamental point of difference and our strength is in our beautiful dashboards, the way we present the data. But again, that data in itself being presented in that way is just the first step. We don't offer services necessarily, but a lot of the job that we do with our clients is services. We get in there and we dig through the data with them, right? And just as an example, one of the probably the key services we offer that we generally do with our team, where a client will call up and say, "Hey, I don't understand this particular metric," or "How do you calculate this metric," or "What does this table mean?" And that's just really the fuel to open up that conversation and say, okay, where are you at in your growth journey? Are you looking to scale? Do you have capital available? How's the previous marketing activities been going? We start to dig into all those sort of business hygiene questions. And then you can look at something like a retention table. You say, well, did you know that marketing campaign you ran 6 months ago actually, you lost 50% of those clients within the first 3 months? Let's now go analyze that CAC for that cohort. How much did it cost you to get those? And did they actually achieve your payback period? Because from the looks of it, that campaign may have overpromised and then under delivered on onboarding and stickiness, right? So you lost them. So digging into insights like that, and we see those sort of predictable things we need to be looking at and informing our clients of. We can do that proactively through quarterly business reviews and our reports. More generally, they'll raise a hand and say, "Hey, I don't quite understand, what this data means. Can you help me out?" And that's when we really get into it.
Yeah, it struck me that what's funny is that to me, it seemed really obvious that you were service oriented,
Right.
not just delivering the data, but actually really more partnering with your
Yeah.
clients to actually help them understand that.
Yeah, I think so. And that's like I said, we don't have services as a standalone offering. I think it's just inherent to what we do.
Yeah.
We're trying to break down that complexity, and by doing that, you really do need to be able to sit down in a room with someone else and dig into that data effectively. Yeah.
I'm kind of curious. One thing I always like digging into is, in your journey to where you are today, what do you think is something that people just don't realize about building a business like Baremetric, whether it's on the tech side, consumer
Yep.
side, or just the emotional roller coaster of the startup life?
Yeah. I think there's a really fine balance between having the vision and the desire to be a unicorn and to be this giant,
Mhm.
world beast, and being realistic and targeting a niche part of that larger market in order to be successful and hit your milestones. What I mean when I say that is I see a lot of young entrepreneurs coming up, and I recently did an interview with the Silicon Valley Youth Entrepreneurs Club. Great little club out there. They've got about 1,000 students in the Bay Area in high school, and they're asking those same questions like, what does it take to be an entrepreneur? What does it take to start a SaaS startup? And this is what I keep coming back to. They have all these sort of not the club in particular, but these young entrepreneurs, these grand ideas of what it means to be a unicorn. When you look at a giant market, and you see this in pitch decks, you'll see this giant TAM, right? This TAM, total addressable market. It's going to be a $34 billion industry by 2030. We're going to capture this percent. And it's like, that's great that you've got an assessment of the market. Let's be realistic. Let's look at you. You've got a bootstrap team of 4, right? You've got a 18-month runway. You've got a seed round. Let's figure out how to stay alive for the next 12 months and then figure out what's going to get us to grow. Don't be everything to everyone, right? Be something particular to someone and then continue to find that someone. And that's what you'll get. So I think that to me is the biggest shift I've had. I remember when, again, back in my first entry to SaaS with Dream Factory, the competitors in that space were Apogee, which was a Google product, MuleSoft, big data platforms like that, right? And so we're running competitor ads against them. We're a sub 5 million ARR company. We're not competing with a MuleSoft when it comes to that sort of conversation at the enterprise level, right? So don't compete with them, right? Find what you did well. And when we looked into our funnel, we saw that Microsoft SQL Server was a platform that every one of our users was using to integrate with. And so we decided we would be the number one REST API generation platform for SQL Server users, right? And that became our H1. So we're no longer trying to be the MuleSoft alternative, which is the position we took for a long time, wasted a lot of money on advertising. And instead, we cut our teeth on that. Similar to Baremetrics. Baremetrics offers a whole range of integrations with different platforms. About 2 years ago, we pushed into Shopify partners as an integration part, and we thought that would be our next lever of growth. And it was to a degree. We opened up a new sector of customers, but it kept occurring to me as I was looking through my KPIs, 75% of my connections at any given time were Stripe customers. I was trying to build a moat and move away from Stripe and build these other connections, but Stripe kept coming to me. I'm like, okay, so I don't need to be the universal integrator. I just need to be really good for Stripe users, and that's going to continue to help me grow into that Stripe market. And so that's what we've been doing as well. So yeah, in a nutshell, I know that was a long-winded answer, but really don't try and be everything to everyone too early. Be something to someone and do it well.
But I think you bring up I think all of us in our entrepreneurial journey probably were at some point where there's high schoolers were. Unfortunately, I wasn't. I was way past my high school years when I was there, so at least they're getting a jump on that.
Yeah.
Um, I, I, I'm curious now, like once people see what you have to offer, and more so probably even experience it, I would imagine they're hooked. But how are you typically in today's world getting in front of new customers these days? Is it, I mean, word of mouth referral, or are you doing, there's
Yeah.
so many opportunities, paid ads, partnerships,
Yeah.
outbound messaging. What are you focusing on these days?
So we've had a big shift in the last 18 months, as I think most people have. There's a big Google algorithm update in August of 24, and then a
Mhm.
subsequent one in March of 25 that really shook up sort of organic SEO. And that had been our backbone. Our primary channel was organic SEO for a long time. We really didn't do many paid ads. We had quite a good brand name out there. And so paid wasn't really a performing funnel for us. But in the last 12 months, we really had to shift into referral, direct, social organic as well. And I've been concentrating a lot more on short form video content, snippets from podcasts, and that sort of stuff. And I do believe there's more traction there. Um, and the reason is one, not only that the Google algorithm changed at the same time as a lot of AI search engines were sort of hitting their stride. Uh, the the problem with the AI generated content was devaluing sort of trustworthy, real, deep thought sort of blog posts that
Mm.
actually meant something to convert people. So we saw that as well. We have over 1,000 bits of content between our blog, our academy, and things like that. So where we've now shifted is to actually talking about real world use cases. And what I mean is our previous high driving traffic would be like how to calculate LTV and what does it mean for your business, right? That's now become very simple to type in and find the answer without having to read a blog and
Mm.
then click a CTA. And more so, you can even ask an AI, hey, here's my revenue figures. What's my LTV? And it's going to spit it back to you quite easily, right? So we've actually shifted now again into that sort of so what. Um, Communities and places like Reddit and LinkedIn provide a lot of good commentary around business
Mhm.
problems that people need metrics to solve. How do I land my first 100 clients? My churn is currently at 20%. How do I get it down to 10%? So these are actually like real world problems. We're now using that to fuel our
Yeah.
content engine. So we're actually using real world examples to sort of break down that the bounds of clinical AI answering of what would otherwise be our high traffic blog post.
I have noticed, when I was looking around that you definitely use, podcasts or stories, you talking about it as to me, one of the best ways I've seen to use AI for content is taking content like you're creating through podcasts and then using the power of AI to, chop it up in
Yeah.
ways that are kind of really help business owners deal with specific problems like that they're facing, like you're talking
Yeah,
about.
absolutely. Yeah. I'm working on a mini ebook at the moment that really, so my content marketer and I, we spend probably 2 to 3 hours a week going through some Reddit channels that we follow. So we've used
Mhm.
AI in the past to sort of filter Reddit comments and commentaries that are
Right,
relevant to our business. We pull them out and she interviews me as sort of the
right.
CEO and says, hey, a user has asked this. What's your opinion? And as we're going through, she'll be tagging it, slicing it up. Riverside's a great platform for that as well. And then we're actually using those transcripts to be consumed and then spit out an ebook of like top 20 questions from SaaS CEOs. And the funny thing is, it'd be easy to produce. And I really want to be clear with this when I go to market is that it'd be very easy for AI to do that, right? Give me a list of top 20 questions that SaaS CEOs are asking and answers. But these are actually authentic, transcripted responses from me, having had thorough thought and measure behind it before I actually deliver it. So that's a great way to consolidate that and spin up that sort of content flywheel from a few short bits of content for sure.
With where you are in your business, do you feel like there are any parts of your growth process right now that you feel like a bottleneck, onboarding, follow up, keeping the marketing consistent?
Yeah.
Where do you see some of your challenges right now?
Yeah, I think top of funnel is hard. Getting in front of the right people on the platforms they're using is shifted, so we really need to work hard at that. When it comes to stickiness and onboarding, we've got a great cohort of long term clients with us. Our newer clients that are coming to us are probably a little bit more fickle when it comes to they're very platform agnostic, and they're happy to shift to a different platform if they're going to get a particular set of metrics or dashboards that we don't offer. And in particular, if they don't see value immediately in what we offer, then there are AI platforms arising out there that do similar things. So I think for us, primary focus is still very much top of funnel. Secondary focus would be increasing stickiness of those emerging startups that are coming through and showing value early. Uh, and then thirdly, I guess, really talking to our current clients, understanding how they expect us to evolve with the emergence of AI as well. Because that's something I'm very aware of. And if you might want to talk about AI later on, but I've worked with a couple of other companies recently that are building, Claude MCP servers between a database and say Canva, and simply saying, which put my products by type by revenue over the last 12 months in a bar graph, right? And it's producing it almost instantly. There's still a way to go when it comes to accuracy and insight, that's for sure. But the capabilities are very much there to be able to do some sort of plain entry data analysis with the right tooling. So we need to talk to our clients more and understand how they expect us to grow in that space as well.
Look ahead, like I love exploring the future. 6 to 12 months from now, what would amazing growth look like for you and Baremetrics?
Yeah. So we've got some really cool things in the pipeline. We're moving into what we're calling Baremetrics traditionally has been about revenue analytics. So we're very much in the here and now. We're looking at your new expansion, contraction, churn, MRR sort of stuff, right? And then where we're actually moving is in that forecasting space. So we recognize now that the mood has shifted when it comes to grow at all costs, and founders are now really being asked to grow within their means, utilize their capital effectively, potentially move back to a bootstrap mindset as they grow, and start to really look after their future. And so we're moving heavily into the forecasting space. So over the next 6 to 12 months, we're actually enhancing our Forecast Plus module, which gives the ability to build out multiple scenarios and model your burn rates and model your expenses. We're also bringing revenue modeling, so you can now see how if I tweak my trial numbers, my conversion from paid, that's how it affects my balance sheet in the end. We're really trying to give that end-to-end dollar in all the way to dollar out sort of view. So the next 6 to 12 months is really going to be focused on bringing that to life. We're also doing some cool improvements in our emailing space, offering our clients the ability to SMS and email for recovery workflows, for cancellation workflows, kind of like a light messaging engine inside Baremetrics as well. So that's really cool. And obviously we're working on AI initiatives internally as well. It's kind of, we've got some AI insights inside the platform already. They're not quite polished to where I want them to be. And I think that speaks to the wider AI assessment of financial platforms. I still think there's a bridge to be crossed when it comes to processing financial data and presenting it, but then moving beyond that into an actual insight or an action. AI's got very good at surfacing data, but then having that analysis, there's still a step to be made. So I'm keen to explore that a bit more as well.
I do want to touch a little bit too on the bottleneck you mentioned at the top of the funnel. Is that have you looked into using tools like automation or AI to help connect with, like find them, connect with, and actually get them scheduled on your calendar to, I mean, because
Yeah,
obviously the goal is for you to be able to, or you and your team to be able to connect with them.
yeah. We've tried, and I wouldn't say failed, but we've tried and been unsuccessful with outbound in the past. I don't know about you, but my inbox is flooded with outbound regularly, and it almost
Hmm.
becomes white noise that I ignore. It has to be something pretty significant, targeted, personalized, and to the point at the right time for me to pick up on it. And so, it's easy for us to say we want to go after customers in the mainland US utilizing Stripe with a revenue of below 5 million ARR that are, past Series A, right? That might be our niche ICP. The ability to get on call with those people and actually put your product in front of them, I think, is becoming increasingly harder. And instead, we want to just be there when they're searching for that solution.
Mhm.
And important on that. So yeah, I think outbound and AI automations has been in our wheelhouse for a while, but I don't think we've quite cracked that nut.
Yeah. And the challenge, obviously, I think with that outbound messaging is you have to appeal to them for the obstacle that's kind of right in front of them at the time, like the right
Right.
people at the right time, and
Yeah, and
without,
it takes a good enough hook just to get someone to open an
yeah,
email, right? Let alone pick up a
right.
phone and then
Yeah,
get on it, talk to an SDR. So you need
yeah.
to be really, really on your game if you're going to make that work. And I've seen success stories for it too, particularly for lower ASP, sort of high velocity SaaS products that are a little bit more niche and targeted, that they know their market very well, particularly where they're an ecosystem player, where they know they
Hmm.
fit well with Shopify, or they know they fit well with particular platforms that they have an affinity for. But yeah, larger scale outbound is still it's still been something that's it's been tough to crack, I think.
Do you think there's anything that we haven't discussed that you would like people to know about Baremetrics now, or what you guys are going for in the future?
No, I think that when people come to us for metrics, which is what we're known for, which is what our core value proposition revolves around, I don't think a lot of people understand the importance of the additional components that we offer that could really enhance revenue. And so, for example, metrics is our core. We have Recover, which is our dunning tool. We're able to recover lost revenue through delinquencies and failed payments. We get in front of failed credit cards, expiring credit cards, annual renewals, all those things. That sort of proactive churn prevention sort of stuff,
Mhm.
right? That's part and parcel. Cancellation insights too. It's our intelligence tool for understanding why clients are leaving you. And again, if we talk about the so what, it's one thing to say, yes, we have a exit survey on Intercom where people can mark their experience down, but what are you doing with it? So what? Is that feeding your roadmap? Is that actually delivering you insights to build better, to be better for your clients? And like I mentioned before, the final one that I think is very undersold when it comes to the potential of Baremetrics is tying in your current subscription analytics and insights in that revenue, but now moving into that forecasting space. Are you growing sustainably? Do you have mitigations for any risk out there that might be impacting your business individually or the wider industry? And are you building those scenarios out effectively in order to mitigate those risks? That's what I would say um, people need to understand more of, is that it's not just about looking at your day-to-day revenue as it comes in. You really want to be planning for the future, and Baremetrics allows you to do that from start to finish.
I think you guys are nailing it with your so what philosophy, because I think that's where you're going to where we all are going to show value and make an impact
Yeah,
on the success of others. So I think there's real power in that, and it's tough to crack that nut. So I
yeah,
can totally
agreed.
appreciate what you're doing, and congratulations on your success so far. And I feel like, I don't know if you feel like this, I feel like you're just getting started. There's just so much opportunity in this space for someone who's approaching it in that way.
Yeah, you're right. There is a lot of different ways that we can go, and I think that's part of the problem as well as part of the opportunity. Is that we can pivot, we can move and explore different areas of that sort of fintech and revenue analytics space. But also, again, back to my original advice, is we need to make sure that we're focusing on the clients that are actually going to drive our growth, and be something to them.
Yeah. If somebody wants to get in touch with you, what's the best way for them to reach out?
Yeah, look, I'm super active on LinkedIn. You can find me there. It'd be a simple search, Luke Marshall, on LinkedIn. Luke at Baremetrics for anyone who wants to email, anyone wants to talk. Again, I've mentored startups outside of an engagement with Baremetrics through to fundraising, exits, general operations, establishing best practice hygienes. I love to do that sort of stuff. So find me there at Luke at Baremetrics. And then, yeah, LinkedIn's where I'm mainly active. We also have a community on Reddit if you want to join there, or visit the Baremetrics homepage, baremetrics.com. Join our newsletter list, interact with our podcasts and any of our content there.
Fantastic. Appreciate you sharing your story and really the success you guys have already seen so far. And I'll be watching you. I'll definitely be, kind of following your progress, and look forward to catching up with you soon.
Awesome. Thanks, Michael. Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it.